Okay, we about to get into this Tupac decoded situation. I was trying to play a song by Tupac, but I'm gonna try something I never tried before to see if I can, because I want y'all to hear it. He had a song called Ghost. I'm gonna read the lyrics. It say the only way for me to come back is like Macavelli. Then he go on, he say, that's me. All these motherfuckers stole from me. I'm taking what's mine. He said, you motherfuckers can't stop me. Even if I die, I'm gonna be a fucking problem. Do you believe in ghosts, motherfucker? I mean, real live black ghosts. So the question being, if we talk about Tupac Amaru Shakur, we have to talk about military strategy, because in one place you hear the brother say, you hear the brother saying, I did everything righteous by the rules of war. So if he doing everything righteous by the rules of war, what is he talking about? Okay, so then he point out books that he read while he was incarcerated. He point out The Art of War. He point out The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. He point out several other books, but those are the two critical ones, because if you're going to do things according to the rules of war, you have to know what is he talking about. So you start with the most oldest of the war treaties, which was written by the Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu. And we talking about now, let me do some invites while I'm on here, because there's some people that told me I'd be forgetting to invite them. But when you analyze Tupac and you look at it for what it really is, and you don't get involved in the games, just step back and look at what it is. What did Tupac say? What did Tupac do? Now, the first thing I have to take y'all back is a 1993 interview with Fab Five Freddy, because this is the foundation that all of this is built on. In 1993, Pac unveiled what you call Thug Life. The hate you give little infants fucks everybody. And in the process of this Thug Life philosophy, as he unveiled it, as Tupac unveiled the philosophy, he told us. Now, when you watch the interview, you cannot find it in its totality. There's a critical piece of the interview, no matter where you find it at, it's been edited. And that critical piece is when Tupac say, with this Thug Life shit, y'all gonna get to witness. You're gonna get to see the evolution of a man right before your eyes. You know, you're gonna get to see all of the missteps, the mistakes, the recovery. He tell you all of this stuff when he unveiled Thug Life. He go on in there and he tell you about how the industry was trying to rob him of his earnings. This is before he ever was shot in Quad Studios. And so if the industry is trying to steal his money, what is the remedy? Now, in that same interview, he say, I am a product of the ghetto. I'm the product of poverty. He said, when you learn to live in poverty, you learn how to relate. He says, so me growing up a Panther, I already went through all of my anger, but it's something after the anger. So what comes after the anger? So let's analyze emotional expression. So you angry, you got an attitude, right? So you got two options: negotiation or war. Now we're talking about going by the rules of war, because he said he did everything righteous by the rules of war. So in warfare, so first of all, you had to understand what warfare is. The only military philosopher that gives a concise and definite definition is a German military philosopher named Karl von Clausewitz. Von Clausewitz said that war is an act of violence to further a political agenda. All right. So war being an act of violence to further a political agenda. One of his songs you hear Tupac say, nobody dies unless we planned it. So, and another one, you will hear him say, right before your very eyes, you won't even realize that you can't see me. He there, but you don't see him. And so we get into Tupac Decoded. I wish I could get these videos to show for y'all because it would make this so much simpler. But since I'm not really proficient at add-ins on this right now, I'm just going to have to quote him and tell y'all where to find the information. The most critical thing right now is a Haitian Jack interview. Haitian Jack got 2 interviews. I'm going to see if I can put them in the comment section. All right, so now this Haitian Jack interview, let me see. This Haitian Jack interview that I'm about to load into the comment section, right? This is the first one. Wait a minute. Okay, that interview that I just uploaded. In this one, let me make sure it's the right one. Okay, so matter of fact, I'm gonna put both of his interviews in here, so y'all can see them, and then y'all know what I'm talking about. One of them, okay, so the one that I wanted, okay, this is the second one. So I don't have the other one on file right now. The first one, he talks about the voodoo conjure in Haiti, Haitian Jack. Now remember, this Haitian Jack, the one that everybody thinks set Tupac up, but coming to find out it was Jimmy Henchman behind it all the time. Now, Haitian Jack talking about the voodoo culture, and he said you can use it. It's black magic and it's white magic. You can use it to go whatever direction you want to, right? In another interview, he's pointing out something. He said from the time Pac got shot at Quad Studios, he had 22 months to vex his grievances. This Haitian Jack. He said, now do the math. He said, this is 2018, which was last year. He said, now it's been 22 years since Pac's death. And then he said, rest in peace, Tupac and Biggie Smalls. And then he said that this was some type of fabricated murder script by Suge Knight. This is what Haitian Jack's saying. He's pinning it on Suge Knight. I don't go for that in its totality, because if Suge Knight involved, Puffy would be equally or greater involvement with the whole scenario. But from looking at it from a military perspective, this was playing at a much higher level than Tupac would have been able as an artist alone to accomplish on his own. You got things coming in from multiple angles. You have street stuff, government, political stuff, and you have gangster secret society stuff going on here. So what is the thing that jumped out in Tupac's FBI file to me was the heavy involvement with a group called the Jewish Defense League. Now, this being real important to pay attention to. And it's not haphazard that they're in Tupac's FBI file as a potential extortionist attempting to extort Tupac. And if the FBI is aware of this, why are they not intervening, right? Or are they? Maybe they're intervening on a level that we can't see. And so everybody in the hood that's seen indictments come down know that Tupac situation could very well fall under that what they call secret indictment category, where they follow you around collecting information until they get you where they want you. So how do we unravel this? The first thing that we got to do to unravel this is go to Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. In The Prince, you got to understand that Niccolo Machiavelli, one, he was in exile. You got to keep that in mind. Niccolo Machiavelli was in exile. And while he was in exile, there was a march by a family of royalty called the Medicis. And Lorenzo de Medici, or Lorenzo del Piero Medici, he was the one who was the heir to the throne. He was the crown prince who Machiavelli sent his greatest work, The Prince, to. At first, Lorenzo Medici didn't look at it. He didn't look at it. He sat it to the side for a minute, but one day he picked it up and he started to read. And from this book, The Prince, Lorenzo Medici goes to implementing the strategies of this advisor in exile called Niccolo Machiavelli. Now, I have to sidetrack here. I have to refer y'all to a movie, Hell Up in Harlem, where I think it's either Richard Roundtree or Fred Williams. I can't remember which one was in the movie. But the movie is about a drug dealer. No, about a pimp. He's about a pimp who is trying to be extorted by both drug dealers and the police. And in this movie, the drug dealers and the police attempt to assassinate him, and they shoot him, and he escapes to Los Angeles, where he's recovering. Then he recovers in Los Angeles. You go back and he take out all of his enemies. And this movie is based off of an urban legend. Now, we all heard the term in the hood called Mac. What's a Mac? A Mac is named after a street hustler and pimp named Macavelli. Macavelli, as a street hustler and a pimp. Now remember, Pac say his father was a street hustler and his mother was a panther. You got to keep that in mind as I go through this story. So this guy named Macavelli, he changed the spelling of it to the same as Tupac's. Macavelli, M-A-C-K, which is your origin of your term Mac. The Mac became distinctly different from the pimp, being that pimps did never want to be the one out front in the spotlight getting the attention. So that was what Max did. So in the hood, the legend of the pimp or the hustler that they called Macavelli produced the flashy dressing, flamboyant Max that we see today, and the term being interchangeable with pimp, but they totally different in that one is a peacock and the other is an owl, so to speak. Like one of them, you know they exist, you know he there, he's a pimp, but you hardly ever see him. Whereas a Mac, you know he coming because he's bringing his entourage, he's flashy, he got a whole bunch of girls with him, he's diamond rings, gold chains, the whole shebang. The Mac is in there. Okay, so now, in the urban legend, this guy they called a Macavelli, it was attempted assassination on him. Now, this is like in the 50s or the 60s New York culture where this is supposed to happen at. I heard the same legend in Chicago, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which had a heavy pimp presence in the 70s. I heard it in New York. I heard the same legend in Atlanta. I heard this legend in New Orleans. Why is this same legend in all of the streets, but we don't remember it? And well, I had a very unique opportunity to sit and listen to old pimps and hustlers talk. And in the process of listening to these old pimps and hustlers and dealers talk, I get to hear certain things that they talked about in relation to strategy and hustling. And one of the things that they focus on was that story of Macavelli, because they said that he was one of the smartest men to ever pimp hoes in the game. But in real life, I don't think that that was his name. I think that was a term that attached to him by the strategies of Niccolo Machiavelli being applied in the life of a street hustler. And I think he adopted that name, or he was attributed that name by other street hustlers who thought he was proficient in the art. And so this story of Machiavelli is exactly the same. He got drug dealers and law enforcement tried to execute him because they couldn't get in on his hustle. Now, the street rule is a hustler. If you're a hustler and you got goons and somebody is trying to extort you, the street rule is you eliminate them, period. You can't allow yourself to be extorted in the streets. So now when we're looking at the Tupac situation, we have to look at it from a hustler's lens. We have to look at it from a military lens, which is the most important, because he flat out said, I did everything righteous by the rules of war. So then we start seeing things going into Vegas. Now, before we get to Vegas, before we get to the shooting in Vegas, this is what we have to analyze. What did Haitian Jack say? He said he had 22 months to vex his grievances. And he said, do the math. This is 22 years later. Now, don't nobody know what Haitian Jack talking about because we so disconnected from our culture. 22 is what they call a master number. 22 is what you call the master's number. Now, the masters are like relay runners in a struggle. The masters are relay runners. Each one make the way for the next. Remember that. Now, this number 22 that Haitian Jack talk about, when he talk about the 22 months of vexation of grievances, this is a show. This is a show that all masters attempt to do at a certain point of their initiation. The purpose of the show is to call forth the next master. And so when you go to his Clinton correctional interview, at close to the end of the interview, he got to stop the reporter. And he tell the reporter, he said, if I don't be successful in what I'm doing, this next dude, he ain't gonna be so merciful like me. He not gonna be kind. He not gonna have no compassion. This is what he's talking about. But he made it his business to emphasize that to the interviewer. This next dude that come after me, he not gonna be so merciful. He not gonna show so much compassion. So he knew something, right? He knew something. So now, the next interview that we go to is what they call the Lost Vibe interview. Then he talks about his comparison to the Christ. He say, I got shot 5 times. And you go to naming them. You go, boom, boom, he's naming them. And then he go into this thing. He say, all of these preachers with these mega churches. He said in New York, they got churches that take up the whole block with gold ceilings and all that. He said, but the poor people can't go live in there. And he tell you that he think he's doing God's work in that video. He said, I'm doing God's work. He said, because I don't see no missionaries going out here to these kids in the ghetto. I don't see them coming down there feeding none of these babies in the ghetto. So who's going to speak for them? So when you're looking at the lens of Tupac, you got to see the whole story of what he doing. What is he doing? When you go back to the beginning and he tell you the thug life, he's going to show you the evolution, which is a process. Now, under the master number, the master keys is what it's called. Using the master keys of 22, Tupac is supposed to awaken Hiram as a right in the lodge, the travel lodge. And so if he's trying to wake Hiram, now he know this motherfucker gonna be woke in 22 years if he do this. But what all of the brothers in the lodge keep failing to remember, if they have